Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. Good morning, Senator. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Senator, will you confirm for me in the audience, you have been on many medical missions and in some pretty sketchy places where security is really a matter of prayer as opposed to police. Is that correct?
Yes, in fact, I've been where we have to take special precautions in Central America and also in the Caribbean.
So, with that as a baseline, how endangered did you feel Thursday night when you were a participant in the D.C. Hunger Games?
We honestly thought we would have died without the police there. This was an angry mob. You've seen the images of them stomping people and kicking them until they're bleeding from their ears. You've seen the image of the shopkeeper who was kicked so much that his body sort of became, they call it decerebrate posturing, when your body contracts because your brain's no longer controlling your body. That's what a mob does. And what it takes is, see, one individual might not do this because one individual might think, well, that's wrong. But when you have 100 people, one person kicks someone, then the next person kicks them, then says, well, I might as well kick them too. And so this is what the violence of a mob, and it's got to stop. We cannot let mobs intimidate people, follow them around, corner them, not let them move, threaten them. It has to be stopped. We've got to do something about this, or our cities and our civilization really is going to go to rotten ruin.
Senator, when you exited the White House grounds on Thursday night, did you have an expectation that the District of Columbia Police would have taken the necessary steps to protect visitors?
We already knew it wasn't going to happen. We got to the exit, and the Secret Service said, don't go out there. And we looked beyond the exit, and there was a huge roving mob already chasing people down. So we chose to go back into the White House, and we got on a bus with a police escort. But see, it took us farther away from our hotel. It took us to a hotel that was 3 or 4 blocks away, and our hotel was just a half a block away. You could see the door to our hotel from the exit. We only had 100 yards we needed to go. But eventually, after taking the police escort, we had to get back, so we took an Uber, and we got to within 2 blocks, but then the police had blocked the roads, and we pleaded with them to let us go by car to our front door, and we couldn't. So eventually we made a decision. My wife's still not too happy with this decision that I kind of got everyone to do, is to walk 2 blocks. And we made it a block with just a few jeers and a few yells, and we can tolerate that. But then a mob saw us of about 30 people. They were doing some kind of crazy march, and they came at us. But then quickly it doubled and tripled until we were completely surrounded with no space between us and them, with them touching us, them brushing up against the police, everybody pushing back and forth, them yelling insults, calling my wife names that can't be repeated on the radio. I mean, this stuff has to stop. And my point is they followed us into the hotel as well. These people were staying in our hotel.
It's clearly an assault, and it's probably a battery. Has anyone been arrested to your knowledge?
I will say that the people who are supposed to investigate this from our perspective are, and they're doing a good job as far as I can tell. They are treating it very seriously, and I think there will be an examination of who these people are, where they come from, and who finances them. Because, we had folks also that were harassed tell us that they were staying at the Willard, which is a very expensive hotel, and they said there were dozens of these so-called protesters, I would call them rioters, staying at the Willard. So who's paying for them to stay in a $1,000 a night hotel and fly them to D.C.? There's a couple possibilities. It's either some sort of unknown rich people doing it, or there's a possibility it's just this organization, Black Lives Matter, that corporate America is supporting. And corporate America needs to get this message that, you don't get off scot-free by giving money to this a crazy anarchist group. The head of Black Lives Matter in Louisville said that she was glad that they could see fear in my eyes, and that was their purpose, and that because she has to live in fear, every official should have to live in fear. And that's terrorism.
Should home rule be taken away from D.C. and returned to federal control if they can't provide protection on the streets of the Capitol, Senator?
Yes. D.C. is a unique thing set up by the Constitution, taken from the states. It's not a state. It doesn't have states' rights. And a lot of the decisions are made by Congress. But I think, really, if you can't have calm or peace in your streets, that has to happen. And I am very worried about our country. I'm worried about what happens. In Louisville, there's going to be a decision whether or not they try those police officers that were involved in the no-knock raid of Breonna Taylor. When that decision comes down, they're already threatening to burn the city down. And we are going to preemptively need, and this is the job of the governor, it really has to be done by governors. That's the way our laws are written. But if our governor doesn't have the National Guard out to the tune of a couple of thousand soldiers on the day of that, it's all on him if they burn Louisville down. And they're already threatening to do it. And this is happening in other cities. And I truly agree with President Trump that if you want the country to look like Portland, that's what's going to happen if you let Joe Biden supporters and Black Lives Matter, if you let them win the election. So,
well, Senator,
the Constitution.
The Constitution calls for a federal city. It doesn't say it has to be in D.C. Would you be in favor of, keeping the mall and the White House and Congress and giving the rest back to Maryland?
I've always been in favor of letting them all go back to Maryland. Yeah, that Maryland can't get much worse with their elected representatives. So, no, I think that's probably not going to happen. I think realistically, I think home rule is a possibility, but the problem right now is the Democrats see the mob as their constituency. So you haven't heard Joe Biden or Kamala Harris condemn the attack on my wife and I and our two friends. I haven't heard a peep from them. All Joe Biden did was pop out of somewhere and say, "Oh, it's all President Trump's fault." Well, this is all going. Law enforcement is primarily the responsibility of local officials. It's state
Yes.
law.
Yes.
It's Democrats for 50 years that are responsible for this.
Senator Rand Paul, I'm glad you're safe. Thank you for joining us this morning. Don't go anywhere, America. Stay on this station.